welcome back. This is Jazz Alive, and we have all kinds of good things coming to you live on the satellite from the 1980 Chicago Jazz Festival. And this is Chicago's Grant Park. It's just mobbed with people. I mean, this is the biggest crowd we've had all week, and all week we've had some really exciting and certainly some huge crowds. Right now, Michael Cuscuna is standing by, and he has someone to talk to. Michael is standing by backstage with a guest. Michael?
Yes, Billy, thank you very much. And I am here with Charlie Weeks, who is the president of the Jazz Institute of Chicago, which is really responsible for the creative end and the coordinating of all this. Charlie, the Institute is a year-round thing, and you have a membership and a board of directors. Exactly how's that structured, and where does your membership come from?
Well, thank you. I'm very happy to have this opportunity to talk a bit about the Jazz Institute. We have about 1,350 members, and we have a board of directors which is made up of people throughout the jazz community, musicians, businessmen, record store owners, record producers, disc jockeys, just a whole cross-section of the jazz community. We were founded about a dozen years ago with the idea of making sure that the musicians in Chicago and the Chicago area jazz fans had a chance to have an interplay. The clubs weren't doing too well, and it's worked out beautifully since. We try to do about 6 or 8 events a year, which are things that would not be done in the clubs. We try to bring back some of the Chicago roots, the people that made Chicago famous, as we did throughout this weekend. And then we try to expose the newer, younger players.
Well, Chicago's had an incredible history from Earl Hines to Bud Freeman to the AACM. And I was wondering, I heard mention that there is, at long last, and it's a rarity in jazz, an archival program being set up by you people.
Right. Well, it's not exactly ours exclusively. The University of Chicago and a number of people on the board of the Jazz Institute have an archive project. The Institute has its own archive committee, and we're doing oral history of all the musicians who are major to the history of Chicago jazz. And then we are depositing this in the University of Chicago archive, which already has in it a substantial collection of every jazz recording made in Chicago or with Chicago musicians on it from the time records were started. We also deposit tapes of all of our concerts in there, and they can't be pirated or anything. Right. They're well controlled. Benny Goodman last year was the feature on this evening, the last evening of the performance, and he donated half of his fee to Hull House and the other half to the archive.
Oh, that's great.
So we're very excited about that because it is a place where historians can come back later and both hear and read about exactly what has taken place in Chicago over the years.
That really is so important because as we lose so many great people, once they're gone, they are gone, and there's exactly no substitute. It's glad to hear that you just got news that there is a third festival. There will be a festival next year.
Right. The mayor, who, as many Jane Byrne know, is in Europe, sent word back a couple of nights ago that there would definitely be a third festival. We're ecstatic about it. The crowds this year are running substantially in excess of last year, and they're very enthusiastic. We had much more time to prepare this year than last. And we're looking forward to tightening up a few of the loose ends that happen in any large endeavor of this nature. But over 225 musicians have performed in 35 different groups. We're delighted that NPR has been able to assist the Institute in the way that the many people that have worked, there's too many names to mention, but they know that is being shared all over the world with the work that we've done and the history of Chicago jazz.
And it's a beautiful job. It's nice to see a free concert, too, where people who are jazz lovers and people who are not can come and gather and get exposed to all this. And I'll give it back to you, Billy.
Thank you, Michael. You know, there are jazz organizations all around the country that are organized for different things, and it's exciting to find that an organization which is just a little over a decade old, the AACM, is one which has made tremendous strides in contemporary music. The kinds of things that they have been championing, I can hardly say that, but they do it very well. The kind of thing that they have really spoken very highly of and really insisted that people pay close and serious attention to is the music of today. in all of its variety. Many of the musicians who are associated with the Art Ensemble, many of the musicians from the other groups that have come out of the AACM have gone around the world playing in concerts in Europe and Japan and other places, doing interesting things that called attention to the fact that a tremendous variety of music is coming out of Chicago. Iqua Coulson is an articulate spokesperson for the AACM. Michael Cuscuna talked with Iqua earlier this week. Let's join them.
What are the year-round activities in terms of teaching or concerts of the AACM?
Well, the AACM, of course, was formed to focus on original composition in a concert setting. And during the year, we try to make sure that we have various activities going on when our artists that are moving around the country, around the world quite a bit, are in town, or we can bring them in. We do that. Usually every year we have our AACM Festival, which is a focal point for that. But monthly we have a concert series in various sites around the city to expose various points in the city to our music. And we also operate a free school of music for inner city youth, gearing ourselves towards the students who may not be able to afford a music lesson but are really interested in learning something about music, and there are a lot of them, of course.
In a sense, this festival represents, if we could speak about it in those terms, the first and second generation of the AACM, with the first being represented by Anthony Braxton and Roscoe Mitchell in the Art Ensemble, and the second by Douglas Ewart and by your group, the Unity Troupe. Are the people like Braxton and Mulhall Richard Abrams and Lester Bowie, people who don't live here anymore, are they still active members of the AACM?
They certainly are. These are the people who, Mulhall, Fred Anderson, these are the people who founded the organization, who were at the first meeting. The Art Ensemble was a group: Leo Smith, Leroy Jenkins, Anthony Braxton, Ayer, Henry Threadgill, Steve McCall. These people were the ones who broadcast the word of the AACM around the world through the music back in the 60s. And of course, since that time, the idea being, of course, through our school. Douglas Stewart is a person who came through the AACM school and has risen to prominence. Myself, I'm from the Chicago area. My husband is from the East Coast, Idego K. Steve Colson. But we are considered part of the, quote, second generation, as you said. But that is because the AACM hopefully and will continue being an ongoing process of bringing out talent that may exist. We work together to make sure that people's original compositions can be heard and that type of thing. So I don't know, it's a prolific organization. We have groups now that perhaps people may not have heard too much about, but they're coming up, under us. Some of the groups that have moved right out into the limelight in the past couple of years, the second wave, you're talking about Chico Freeman, George Lewis, the Ethnic Heritage Ensemble led by Kahil Elzebub, our group, of course, the Unity Troupe. And I don't know, we have a host of other people who are living in New York now, aside from the people I mentioned, our founders, Amina Claudine Myers and Calla Perusha, Leroy Jenkins. And we all always carry the banner of the AACM wherever we go. That's how we've gotten such a prominent reputation. And we hope to keep generating. As a matter of fact, I know we're going to keep generating this outstanding talent because we've got some people coming up right now who will amaze you in the next few years.
Since the AACM seems to be an incubator for what's going to be important tomorrow and spread around the world via New York and Europe and so forth, who are some of the groups, beginning with the Unity Troupe and Douglas Ewart's ensemble, who are some of the other troops that are, some of the other groups who are active now on the Chicago scene?
Okay, well, as I mentioned, the Ethnic Heritage Ensemble. And then we have Mwate Bowden, who used to do some work with George Lewis and Douglas Ewart in a horn quartet called Quadrisect.
He'll be with Douglas, I think, this weekend.
That's quite possible. He's very talented. And Rita Warford, at the moment, there are 3 female members of the AACM, and she is working with Mwate. They have quite a good group. Also, Fred Anderson still lives in Chicago, and though he's one of our older members, He is still on Chicago, and always his group serves as a focal point for new artists to work on and come into their own through their talent. I know I did working with him. That certainly helped, aside from working with my husband, and so did Douglas and George Lewis.
Michael Cuscuna speaking with Iqua Colson. Michael is sitting right across the table from me at the moment. Michael, it's this is a group that you've had a lot of experience with. You've worked with them quite closely.
Yeah, with the Art Ensemble of Chicago, yes.
Yes.
But I was thinking while I was listening to Iqua talk, Chicago does have a way of coming up with some very unique things through the years, and I remember I was so curious about all these names, these new names that I had heard about, that one summer I just came to Chicago around 66, 67, just to check it all out, and it was exactly what everyone said. I mean, a lot of incredibly talented musicians who had a grasp of just about every era of jazz, and were doing something very new and very much themselves with it. And at that time, Muhal Richard Abrams was heading it up, and he had a big band, and the Art Ensemble of Chicago was just forming. They didn't have a drummer, I don't think, at that point. It was called the Roscoe Mitchell Art Ensemble, and Joseph Jarman had his own group. And, since then, of course, in Braxton, and everyone went to Paris and spread through the world, and the music finally got recognized. But there's some very extraordinary things that have come out of this.
Well, the thing you mentioned, Muhal, Richard Abrams, the thing that has impressed me about him over the years is all of the people that he's taught, and he's really been a teacher and an inspiration, and worked very closely with other people, sharing his insights in the tradition that some of the older musicians of Chicago have often done. And he's very aware of roots. I mean, he's really gone back to look at the Earl Hines contribution and the Jelly Roll Morton contribution, and things away from the keyboard. He's a keyboard player, but I mean, he's looked at, talked about Fletcher Henderson, and he's really taught some of these young musicians who are going into areas of their own, that those areas are indeed related to things that went on prior to their existence here in Chicago.
Right. In fact, they were the first people that I saw. Richard Abrams and Henry Threadgill were reviving all the ragtime literature long before movies like The Sting caused that whole revival and so forth. And is doing some really amazing things with it. And also, I know Muhal was composing his own rags, working within the form.
It's a funny thing about piano players. Almost every piano player that's really serious, a jazz piano player who's serious about the instrument, has had to go back to the ragtime tradition to realize where all the rest of the stuff comes from.
Yeah.
And I mean, because if you don't look at the form, look at the kinds of vocabulary that they developed in those years from Jelly Roll and even before, then you really are missing a great deal of what the jazz piano is about.
Yeah, really. Muhal, in fact, during one tour was with the Art Ensemble, but they are pianists. But it's an incredible group. I wish we could carry the visuals on it too, because it's an absolutely extraordinary stage. And when Four or More was on with all their percussion, it looked like a garage sale for a drum shop or something. But there's an incredible array of gongs and congas and tuned bells, and all used incredibly well. It's a very visual group and a very percussive group that just weaves one creation into another, and really draws upon the whole vocabulary of jazz.
What I like about it is they're right over here on stage left where we are, and I'm going to get a chance to look at exactly what they were doing as I was doing with Unity the other night, because that really, it's amazing when you're looking at an artist play on stage. You get one perspective, but from the side or from behind him, you get or her, you get a totally different concept of what's going on.
Absolutely.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, because I saw that with Max Roach the other night. It was just unbelievable. During a night in Tunisia, there was a couple of points where if I was just hearing it, it was a very weird hesitation where it sounded like he might have lost track of the beat or something like that. But I was seeing his eyes and his body, and it was a very deliberate hesitation, and it was a very tricky thing. Yeah.
Well, the Art Ensemble of Chicago is coming on next, and what you were saying about the appearance, I don't envy the sound men who have to capture all of this and send it out on the satellite and and send it out in the directions that it's going, because they've really got their work cut out for them.
They do, but with all really professional musicians, and you know this from both sides, they really have dynamics, which is something that some people forget, and they really can mix themselves pretty well.
Absolutely. Yeah. I really have been concerned about the way that the audience has really jumped in today, because earlier people were out in boats, and it turned out to be a really nice day in Chicago, and I was wondering whether that was going to affect the audience. And when we got here, it was already packed. It's the biggest crowd so far.
Yeah, more so than any of the other nights. Of course, the last 2 nights that we've been on live, we've had a minor thunder shower that preceding each concert, which conveniently was over and done with, I guess, about a half hour before we got on each night. And people still came. People were sitting in the rain, waiting for the concerts on the last 2 nights. And it's also interesting, since this is free, I'm sure there are a lot of people that are not necessarily jazz aficionados in one form or another, and it's great to get the music exposed. And they're also so receptive, like last night and even more so tonight. There's such a diverse presentation in terms of styles and eras and approaches to music, and the audience seems just very responsive and open to all of it.
They seem indeed to be that. The thing that excites me, though, is looking at this array of instruments that we have with bells and tuned drums and all of these things. For an audience who can't see it, they're really in for an oral treat, because there are going to be a lot of things which will be very difficult to identify as instruments once the ensemble begins to play. They mix up the timbre of the various instruments in a very interesting fashion, and so it's going to be quite a thing to hear the combinations that they pull together. It's very much a part of the production here, watching these guys take the microphones and try to put them in the right place. But as you said, the musicians can deal with that for the most part on their own. So.
Yeah. This array of equipment is unbelievable. I mean, they rent a school bus to
take it around.
Yeah, to take it around. It's even when they go to Europe, they have to cart it all over and drive through Europe in an old school bus and stuff.
When you work with the Art Ensemble and you record them in the studio, are there any particular problems that
there was one. Jim Atlas was managing a studio. He was playing bass the other night with Bud Freeman or... Anyway, he was managing a studio, and I booked it from New York and flew out to Chicago to record the group. And the day of the session, we found out that the studio was a 4-floor walk-up. So we had these cases that weighed literally, 1,000, 1,500 pounds, and we had to hire movers to bring the whole thing up.
Here comes Don DeMichael going out to the microphone, and he's going to introduce the next group.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Chicago has been a jazz center since the 20s, and many great musicians have come out of this wonderful, great American city. But there's only been one organization in the whole jazz world, not just in Chicago, that has worked, and that's been the Association for the Advancement of Creative Musicians, AACM. It was formed in the mid-60s here and has much great music, great black music, has come out of this organization from the wonderful musicians. And perhaps the best-known group of musicians, certainly acclaimed around the world, has been the Art Ensemble of Chicago. The Art Ensemble was formed in the late 60s right here of residents of Chicago. Since that time, they have been acclaimed throughout Europe, in Japan, Australia, throughout the world. The Art Ensemble of Chicago is one of the most magnificent groups in the history of jazz. I'd like to introduce them. On percussion, Famoudou Don Moye. On bass, Magustos Malachi Favors. On trumpet, Lester Bowie. On reeds, Joseph Jarman. Also on reeds, Roscoe Mitchell, the Art Ensemble of Chicago.
We got to get the stove ready first.
Thank you very much. We would like to say thank you very much. As you know, this is our favorite city on the planet because this is home. Roscoe Mitchell, saxophones, flute, gongs, percussion. Lester Bowie, trumpet, bass drum. Joseph Jarman, saxophone, drums, percussion. Famoudou Don Moye, drums and percussion. Malachi Favors, bass and percussion. The Art Ensemble of Chicago, great black music. Hey!
You're listening to Jazz Alive. I'm Billy Taylor. We're coming to you live on the satellite from the 1980 Chicago Jazz Festival. Chicago Jazz Prism is the title of tonight's show. Coming up, we'll be hearing from the Stan Getz Quintet, Muddy Waters, and Lionel Hampton. You know, it's interesting. The group that we just listened to began their set in a rather unusual way. To establish the desired spiritual unity, the Art Ensemble of Chicago faced stage left and meditated for a few moments. And at the sound of the gong that they concluded with, they began their set. And the very last thing we heard, of course, was Dreaming of the Master. That's from an album that they did a few seasons back called Nice Guys. We have a lot of very exciting artists still coming your way, but we'll pause now for 10 seconds to allow our local stations to identify themselves. From Chicago, I'm Billy Taylor, and this is NPR, National Public Radio.
You're hearing live stereo coverage of the Chicago Jazz Festival on WBEZ Chicago.
Back. This is Jazz Alive, and we are coming your way from the 1980 Chicago Jazz Festival from Chicago's Grant Park. And we've got a lot of good things coming that way tonight. You know, Stan Getz is one of the artists who's coming out, and I remember Stan from, some years back when he came to New York with a group, and he had picked up this pianist from somewhere upstate in Connecticut, and he said, hey, this guy was playing tenor saxophone, but he's going to play piano with my group because he's a fabulous piano player. Turns out the guy's name was Horace Silver, and he is a fabulous player. Michael Cuscuna is standing by backstage with a guest. Michael?
Okay, thank you very much, Billy. Roscoe just ran back to grab his horns, and an incredible array of horns they are. It's truly an amazing set. Here he comes right now. It was really incredible. I'm sorry that the visuals weren't able to really get on stage. Roscoe? How you doing, man?
How you doing, Michael?
Good. absolutely incredible set. For people that aren't familiar, what's the background of the Art Ensemble? When did you guys get together, and what was the metamorphosis that brought it to this quintet?
Well, the Art Ensemble grew out of a larger group in Chicago, which was the Chicago-based AECM, the Association for the Advancement of Creative Musicians. We all sort of just came together and we developed like a cooperative concept, and we've worked with that over the years, and that's what has helped to keep us together.
The unlike most of your music independently, or Lester's group independently, there's a large percussion base in the Art Ensemble of Chicago. How did that come about, where everyone is using different instruments?
Well, we sort of evolved into percussion at the time, because at the time we had a drummer with us, Philip Wilson, who had to leave the band, and his concept of drumming had taken us to a point to where we didn't dare to bring anybody else in for that moment, so we decided that we would start adding some percussion sounds our own self. So.
At that time, it was just you and Lester and Malachi. Right?
Malachi, that's right. Trio.
The music we heard tonight, who composed the pieces?
That was a multi-composition set, actually. I composed the first song, which was Sing. The second part of the concert was composed by Don Moye, and the next song was Charlie M., which was composed by Lester Bowie, and then we had Theme for Roscoe, which is composed by Joseph Jarman, and the last two songs, Chant and Song, were composed by me.
How often during the year is the Art Ensemble an entity, and how often do you devote to individual projects?
Well, this past year we've spent a lot of time working with the Art Ensemble. Really hasn't been much time to do anything else this year. We've been going pretty much since the beginning of the year, and we're still going to be going right through to the end.
Yeah. Have you found much work in the United States? I know Europe has always been big.
This next tour will encompass a tour in the United States from September 18th to December, to the end of November, actually, November 30th.
Mostly concerts?
Concerts, yeah, and a few clubs. Boston, for instance, there's 3 nights in a club there called Lulu White's.
Yeah. How often do you get back to Chicago as the Art Ensemble to perform?
Not that often. We're in Chicago a lot, because we're based here. Sometimes, when we have the chance, but we don't perform here that often. Maybe once a year or something like that. Mm-hmm.
Is there, in just about all the performances I've seen over the last few years, it seems that you almost have an underlying lesson in the evolution of jazz. Is that purposeful, drawing on so much language from different eras?
Well, we believe that the more you know about what you're dealing with, then the better picture you can present at the end.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, Roscoe, thank you very much, and good luck in your personal endeavors. And we have Stan Getz standing by. We'll be talking to him in a little while, but in the meantime, back to you, Billy.